There we go. Wow, there's a microphone. Bam, bam, tick, tick, damn. Let's see here. Bam, 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 bam. Bah. Wow, that was fast. How did that work? Had you? All right, let's see. Bam.
The gun isn't even out yet, but the bullet is already on its way. That's the insane reaction speed of Western gunslingers. They can hit 5 different targets in just 1 second, but that speed doesn't just happen by accident or luck. It comes from hours and hours of muscle training. They practice reflexes, not shooting, so their body moves on autopilot. Every single muscle in their body reacts before their brain even thinks. And that weird backward lean you see isn't just for looking cool. It keeps the gun safely away from their body. It also stores kinetic energy, like a stretched rubber band ready to snap. The gun isn't even out yet, but the bullet
Uh,
is already on its way. That's the insane reaction speed of Western gunslingers. They can hit 5 different targets in just 1 second, but that speed doesn't just happen by accident or luck. It comes from hours and hours of muscle training. They practice reflexes, not shooting, so their body moves on autopilot. Every single muscle in their body reacts before their brain even thinks. And that weird backward lean you see isn't just for looking cool. It keeps the gun safely away from their body. It also stores kinetic
Unbelievable.
energy, like a stretched rubber band ready to snap. The
Oops.
gun isn't even out yet, but the bullet is already
That's
on its way.
so
That's the
crazy. That's so freaking crazy. Hey, what's
First,
up? Looking good. All right, let's see what's going on here. Let's see.
Most people don't know this, but chocolate was never supposed to be candy. Cacao pods originated in the upper Amazon basin, and its seeds were actually used to pay for things. 100 of these seeds could buy you a canoe, and 3 of them could get you a fresh avocado. Cacao beans were so valuable that people even made counterfeits. They'd fill up seashells with mud and let them dry. The beans were typically only grounded and fermented into a drink called, and I'm being so serious, chocolat, which translates to bitter water. And it was only really for rulers and warriors, but I think I'll pass on this one. But when the Spanish arrived, they loved the beans' economic power, but they also hated the taste. So when they brought it back to Europe, they added sugar and honey,
Sugar,
making what we now know
honey.
as hot chocolate, which is pretty insane. Most people
That's so freaking awesome. I love this guy.
One of the most perfect fruits on this planet that humans are trying to get rid of is the
Get
guava.
rid of.
Guava trees grow almost unnaturally fast. Their roots dig deep into the ground and release chemicals that actually poison the soil for other plants. And every fruit has hundreds of these seeds, which are designed to survive in the gut of almost every animal, which is probably why these things could have you on the toilet for hours. That's also probably why it's officially listed as invasive. It originated in tropical America where humans would eat it almost every day. Eventually, it left South America and started taking over places like Hawaii and Fiji. These things were probably more known than Columbus. Wherever they landed, they pretty much made it their new home, which is pretty insane. One of the most
Pretty insane.
farmers actually used to throw these things away because of their color. It didn't fit the brand of autumn like the orange ones did, but that white color was actually a random mutation that made the pumpkin better. Because this pumpkin has no pigment, it does a really good job at bouncing off sunlight, so it was really good at protecting itself against sun rays. That's why they could sit in storage for months while other pumpkins rotted. Eventually, humans saw its potential. They taste much sweeter and they last much longer, so they selectively bred them for durability instead of color, and eventually marketed them as a new exotic gourd. Most people use them as decorations, but they're actually one of the best eating pumpkins in the world.
Eating pumpkin.
Which is pretty insane. The white pumpkin.
That is pretty insane. All these bananas.
Most people don't know this, but one of the most advanced human inventions actually comes from a plant. Burdock root grows really long, and it was used in medieval Europe as a blood purifier. They would roast it for hours and then serve it in a soup. In the mid-1900s, a man took his dog for a walk and noticed that the burdock plant would always stick to his dog's fur, but he never really understood why. So he spent 10 years studying it under a microscope. He noticed that each burdock burr had these little hooks that clung onto anything with loops that would eventually inspire the creation of Velcro, a fastening system that could open and close without wearing out. So what started as a stubborn plant in the field became one of the most practical inventions on the planet, which is pretty insane.
Oh, the bean plant.
One of the crops that actually saved this planet is the ancient chickpea. Chickpeas are one of the only beans that can grow in places that most other crops can't. That's why they're one of the 8 founder crops of the human civilization. Wow. But in the 1900s, humans realized that chickpeas do something called symbiotic nitrogen conversion. When most plants grow, they drain the soil of nutrients, but chickpeas do the opposite. They turn air into plant food so that any other crops being planted can grow better. Ancient farmers couldn't have known this, but after every harvest, it was really common for them to plant chickpeas right after. That's how it became such a big part of global farm culture. It feeds billions of people and it heals the very planet that we all forgot how to live on, which is pretty insane. One of the
that is pretty awesome. How you doing, Art? I don't not sure. I didn't check. You looks like there was 15 and now there's 3. So I don't know. I've only been on for less than 10 minutes, and I usually don't start until 4:30. So I was started early. But yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can hang out or you can come back either or. The tree that outsmarted.
One of the world's most useless crops that actually saved the world is the OC.
I know. Clementine said she got COVID today, or she said today that she had COVID. She wasn't feeling well, so she was gonna lay down for a little while. So she'll probably be back in a little bit. We'll go ahead and show your what you call. There it is. Bang, bang, bang. Oops, bang. What up, Clem? How you feeling? Well. How you feeling, Clementine? Not gonna. I had really hard. Yeah, conserve your energy. I ended up sleeping until late today.
Osage orange. These things actually do look pretty cool. The only creatures on this planet that ate Osage oranges are actually all extinct, so they have something called megafaunal syndrome, meaning it's a plant that adapted to be eaten by animals that no longer roam this planet. So if you
Wow.
ever see one, odds are a human planted it. They're actually one of the few survivors of the Ice Age, and if they weren't, the world would look like an entirely different place. These trees are also really good windbreakers, so they played a big role in controlling the Dust Bowl. Before America had steel,
That's
these
freaking
trees made the
amazing.
strongest bows in the world, so strong that they could pierce armor. That's why a single well-crafted bow could be traded for a horse and a blanket, which is pretty insane. One of the world's most useless
What is pretty insane. Hit the like button on your way out before you take a nap. Yeah, there's already been 52 people through here, it looks like. All right, let me get back to y'all. All right, thank you, Clem. Eating bamboo.
One of the most poisonous crops that humans love to eat is bamboo. Raw bamboo is very poisonous and it could stop you from breathing. But in many parts of the world, eating bamboo shoots is actually very common. People grill or ferment bamboo shoots and eat them kind of like pickles. Oh my gosh. Fresh bamboo shoots have a toxic compound that releases cyanide when you chew it. That's why eating it could sometimes be extremely dangerous. Oh my gosh. When European explorers reached Asia, they thought the locals were eating actual wood. They were almost baffled to see people eating what looked almost like a tree, even though bamboo is technically a grass, which is why it's the fastest growing plant on this planet, which is
Pretty
insane.
insane. Yeah, this guy's awesome. I like it. I like him a lot. What is today? It's Wednesday or it's Thursday, right? Yeah. I know, I missed it. Why is it not Thursday? Let's see. Oliveira.
If society collapsed in the next 24 hours, the first thing everyone should grow is the winged bean. The winged
Oh, there you go. Or thank you. Or that looks. Let me check that. Let's give you a big. Oops. There it is. Looking good. Looking good. Looking good. All right, let's go back to here real quick.
bean is one of the only crops that has more than just carbohydrates. These are one of the most protein-packed plants in the entire world, but it's still one of the most unrecognized fruits in the world. People would eat the leaves like spinach and
Oh, dang it.
if society collapsed in the next 24 hours, the first thing everyone should grow is the winged bean. The winged bean is one of the only crops that has more than just carbohydrates. These are one of the most protein-packed plants in the entire world, but it's still one of the most unrecognized fruits in the world. People would eat the leaves like spinach and the pods would be eaten like green beans. Even the roots of these plants can be eaten almost like a potato. The plant originated in the Pacific Islands in the areas that had longer nights. That's why it was so hard to grow it outside the tropical region. So people started breeding new varieties that could flower in different day lengths. But by then, soybeans had taken over the global market. That's why it was called the wonder crop of the tropics. So it went from a crop that could feed the entire world to a crop that some of you are just now hearing about, which is pretty insane.
What up, Space Cow?
What kind of names were these kids calling you at the pool?
Meathead, Fatso, Lard Butt, Wally the Whale.
Porky, Hog, Fat Ass, Double Wide, Butterball, those sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
Badass.
One of the greatest things ever grown on this planet is beetroot. Red beets were used
That was
throughout history as a brain and body booster. That's why they were so heavily used by ancient warriors and hunters. They have something called nitrates, which turns into nitric oxide when you eat it, which can help slow down the aging process of humans. Beetroot actually started as a sea beet. It was white and it only grew near the Mediterranean. They would pull it straight out the ground and just eat it raw. But after years of selective breeding, we now have the dark red beets. They taste almost like a sweet, juicy carrot. That's probably why Napoleon was shocked that they could be turned into sugar, which is pretty insane.
Which is pretty insane. The world's most delicious fruit.
One of the rarest fruits that humans know about. Atamoya is known as the most delicious fruit known to man. From the outside, it looks like a giant green pine cone, but they taste like a banana and a pineapple mixed with a strawberry. It almost tastes too sweet to be a real fruit. That's because it's a hybrid fruit made by crossing a sugar apple and a cherimoya. Cherimoya originated in the Andean highlands of South America. It was considered a royalty fruit, so it was really only eaten by the ruling class. In the 1600s, Spanish explorers carried cherimoya back to Europe. The Europeans loved it so much that it became a delicacy for the wealthy. That's how cherimoya became a heritage crop, protected by the same laws that guard champagne and Parmesan cheese, which is pretty insane.
Pretty insane. Or Matt, remember, keep making videos. You got to give people a reason to subscribe. I subscribe. Did you subscribe to Space Cowboy? Remember, yeah, you got to give people a reason. I subscribed to you because you subscribed to me. Okay. Good. There you go. Space Cowboy, give her one in return. If you feel like it. I did. You got to be like me. All right, let's see. Let's see. Apples. Bugs. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Eyes. World's deadliest hunter. Man-made mushrooms, the hottest peppers in the world.
One of the hottest peppers in the entire world is the red Savinha habanero.
Yes, yeah.
Habaneros have been growing since before the pyramids were built, but red Savinas were created in the 1980s by a man named Frank Garcia. He wanted to push the limit on how spicy a pepper could be in the world of chili. That's a big bite. Before the Carolina Reaper came along, the red Savina held the title for the world's hottest pepper. That's because it ranked about 350,000 Scoville heat units, which is about 7 times hotter than a regular habanero. Oh wow, that's oh my goodness. It's a bit more fruity than other peppers, but you still have to be careful when cooking with it. That's if you eat too much of it, your body will literally feel like you're standing in fire, which is pretty insane.
Is it still uploading, Space Cow? I don't have anything yet. Yeah, it's nothing here yet, brother. There it is. There it is. Okay, hold on. Oh shit. Let's see. Dang it.
Hey, fuck you guys!
What the fuck, man?
Yeah, why the fuck are you always such a grouch?
Because you big yellow bitch, I live in a fucking trash can. I'm the poorest motherfucker on this whole block, and nobody's fucking helping me. Now let me hold $1.
Let me hold $1. Did you make that? It definitely seems like your comedy style.
One of the greatest plant discoveries on this planet is rubber. Real rubber comes from the Hevea tree, and they really only grow in tropical regions. They originated in the Amazon, where people would tap the trees for the milky latex. They would use it to make balls, to play games, and even make waterproof cloth. But when the Spanish explorers carried it back to Europe, it seemed useless because the material would crack and rot. So for almost 300 years, it really wasn't worth using, until a chemist noticed that it could rub out pencil marks. That's how it got the name rubber. But eventually people started using it to make things like boots and tires. That's why older cars always had white tires. But soon after, they started adding
Do you recall the urban heat island effect? He studied a lot. He had an interest in agriculture, went to school for agriculture, and decided that he was going to dedicate his life to plants. So he started studying everything about plants. Think about it. If everything you ate, like, oh, I've got an apple. What's the history of an apple? How did the apple get here? So that's what he did. He started everything. He started everything he was eating. I'm eating a cheeseburger. How did the burger become a burger? What is it made of? Where did they come from? Who invented it? Where's the tomato? And he just did that. The pickles, the mayonnaise, and he dissected it all. So yeah, you learned it all. Okay, the urban heat. Yes, I'm very familiar with it. You're talking about the like the wind currents, the air currents, and how the mass of the buildings hold heat and then cause a chimney effect. I believe that's what it is. I remember learning about that years ago. But let's look at that real quick. Let me see. Urban heat island effect. Urban heat island effect. When cities are significantly warmer than surrounding due to human-made surfaces that absorb and retain heat, that's the thermal mass, along with lack of vegetation that would help cool it, and man-made heat sources. The effect makes urban areas hotter, especially at night, leading to higher energy consumption and for cooling and potential health risks during heat waves. UHI. Yeah, I do remember that. I don't remember where I learned it. Should I speak English on my channel or my first language? You, why not do one of each? Why not make one in English and one in your native language? That way you get twice the views. But if you follow a lot of English speaking channels, like if you're speaking, I don't know what your native language is, I can't remember. But if you speak that, a foreign language to me, I mean, if I show it to a bunch of English speakers, we won't understand what you're saying. So yes, I do have. First of all, cold bath is the best thing you can do, but to keep it at a cool bath. So like even like 85-degree bath, which is considered warm. I mean, for me that's considered warm, but like yeah, so a bath is the best thing first, Clementine. But second, give me one second. This is what me and my family used. No, it's Swedish. This is what me and my family and my around me were used. Now, let me switch cameras here real quick. Okay. Quercetin with bromelain, and for everything else, Curamed, which is curcumin. That's what I was mentioning to you earlier. This is our Tylenol, our Advil. And for your other issue, I mentioned this earlier. This is quercetin with bromelain. What do you mean? Or PewDiePie's from Sweden, isn't he? Isn't he Swedish? He's got like 300 million subscribers or something. 10 majillion. But yeah, other than that, Obviously you don't have any of that. I'd guess he's sleeping, but I haven't heard from him yet today. Yes, but he speaks English in the videos. Yes, right. Well, that's so when you start to learn marketing and best business practices, who is your target audience is the first thing you need to know. If you're trying to break into the American or English speaking audience, which is the UK, Canada, America, a lot of the Arab countries, they speak English, so like more people, let's show you. Most people on earth have English. Like you speak 2 different languages. Why not use English? Because you'll reach a lot more English speakers. Like no one in America, very, very few people in America speak Swedish. So you could only market yourself to Swedes. Yeah, where am I? Okay, man. World languages by percent. Okay. Okay, so it's hard to see here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so English has the largest amount of speakers on the planet, 1.5 billion. Then the very next one is Mandarin, which is Chinese. Swedish isn't even on the list. Why would you want no one to understand you? Don't you want to be understood? Isn't the point of making videos so people understand your point? If you want no one to understand you, then no one will understand you. And then they just won't watch you. They'll watch people they can understand. What do you mean? I don't understand your question. Should I speak Swedish on the live? What do you mean? Why would you do that? Don't you want people won't know what you're saying? If someone else comes on the live that speaks Swedish, yes, speak back and forth, but you're just talking to no one. Yeah, if someone else pops on the live in the chat that also says, "Hey, I speak Swedish too," then you can say, "Hey, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?" Do you have any aspirin? Let me see. Natural fever reducers. Staying hydrated, right? It's the biggest one. Tea and broth. So, or teas. Yeah, the lukewarm baths, hydration, cool compresses. Aspirin for fever. Yeah, aspirin is effective. Let's see here. Ingen Av 4-star MiG just new. Whatever the hell that means. Swedish to English translation.
None of you understand me right now.
Bum, 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 bum. All right, let's see.
Most people don't know this, but chocolate was never. Most people don't know this, but chocolate was never supposed to be candy.
Dang it.
Most people don't know this, but
Sean Greaves. Pedals. World's deadliest hunter.
One of the longest lasting fruits in the entire world is the winter melon. Winter melons are one of the world's largest gourds. That's because they can grow to be more than 60 to 70 pounds. This one right here weighs about 50. As they grow, they produce this white powder. It's almost like a wax. It seals in moisture and it protects them from decaying. During the Han Dynasty, the monarchs would eat it in soups or at banquets, and peasants across Asia would grow it as a survival crop. When it's raw, it tastes kind of like a cucumber. But if you cook it, it tastes like whatever it's being cooked with. That's because their flesh is 95% water. So they became the fruit that could feed both kings and entire villages. Which is pretty insane.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
It doesn't look like much, but cactus leaves actually help build an entire food system. Cactus leaves aren't really leaves, they're more of a modified stem. It was used by ancient healers to heal what they called sugar sickness, which is what we now call diabetes. People would eat but still lose their strength, and they would urinate excessively, and it would smell almost sweet, which is really interesting because the word diabetes literally means sweet siphon. Inside the cactus leaves, there's a thick white goo that slows down how fast sugar enters your bloodstream. That's kind of why the Aztecs believed that their gods told them to settle where they found an eagle on a cactus eating a serpent. They found that exact vision on a tiny island in a lake, and that's where they built Tenochtitlan, the place that would eventually become Mexico City, which is pretty insane.
Pretty insane. Thank you. What would you say? Would you say you like cats?
Skulle ni säga att ni tycker om katter?
Katter. I like cats. I have a cat. I mean, I like my cat. Let's see. Uh-oh, broke it. The messiest fruit you'll love.
One of the most iconic fruits ever grown is the okra. Okra was never really native to the Americas. It actually made it here.
I grow okra. My okra grows huge. It's crazy. It's really, really good too.
Through something called the Middle Passage. It was a sea voyage that brought thousands of African slaves to the Americas. African rulers like King Agaja would attack villages and sell off Africans to European traders. The women would braid okra seeds and other crops into their hair so that they could grow food wherever they were being shipped. That would eventually lead to the creation of gumbo. The word gumbo comes from the West African term king gumbo, which simply translates to okra. They would mix okra in makeshift pots with any local ingredients they could find. That's what led okra to become one of the most eaten crops in the South, which is pretty insane.
That's where I live, the South. The grape of the South.
One of the oldest, one of the most iconic fruits ever grown is...
I broke it.
One of the oldest fruits in the entire world is the muscadine. Muscadine grapes are the first native grape ever used to make wine in North America. The oldest grapevine that these things grown is actually more than 400 years old. So that grapevine has been producing grapes since before the United States even existed. That's why in 1587, English settlers found them growing on Roanoke Island. The vines grew up along trees and they covered the forest floor. That's why they believed that they'd found the Garden of Eden. Winemakers mocked muscadines for tasting too foxy, which meant that they were unpleasant. They preferred the much smoother European grapes like Cabernet or Merlot. But today we know that muscadines carry the highest level of antioxidants than any other grape on earth. So they do a much better job at protecting your body cells from damage, which is pretty insane.
Oop, I broke it. Okay, let's check out I Want to Be Cool. I just want to be cool.
Robert är en helt normal kille med ett helt normalt jobb. Men
Han har ett problem. Piss, 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 piss.
Ja, men tjenare Robert!
Han kan inte pissa när andra ser på. Lyckligtvis finns Roberts bästa vän Jan alltid nära till hands för att vägleda både Robert, slappna av, och Max, som alltid är i seriöst behov av hjälp.
Ja!
Allt är frid och fröjd i de tre vännernas äckliga små liv.
Jan!
Tills den dagen då Jan blir klar med boken han skrivit på i hela 25 år.
I got no idea what they're saying. That yeah, you have a movie, that movie. How long have they been a channel for? Let's see. 2009. So they've been doing this since 2009. Yeah, it takes a long time. It takes about 6 months of posting every day just to get 500 subscribers. But yes, they've been doing it for 16, almost 17 years. I think what a lot of people do is when they want to become YouTubers and stuff like that, they think, "Oh, I'm going to post a video and get 1 million subscribers." No, it doesn't work like that. You gotta keep posting and posting and posting, post videos and then post shorts, YouTube shorts as like your commercials to your main videos, and you can basically grow as fast as you want to, but that just means you got to do the work to do that. All right, it's 4:30 now. All right, I'm going to take my dinner break now. I'll be back in a half hour. It's about 5 o'clock my time. It's 4:30 now. That's right. That's exactly right. So that's why you never give up. Exactly. So that's why my name is I Fail First, because you have to fail and then not give up. Failure shows you that you're on a path. You have to try in order to fail. And if you fail and keep trying, you will succeed. Alrighty, I'm gonna go eat now, make dinner and eat. I'll be back in about a half hour, 45 minutes, maybe sooner if everything goes quick. But thank you, love you, thanks for coming in, or talk to you later. Bye 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 bye.